We are keeping that one close at hand all through the week and through the weekend as well, because it has been, quite a while since Election Day. And after months of speculation leading up to the polls and a week of post-election speculation, we're heading into a weekend of perhaps more speculation. Here to take us through all of it is our On the Ledge panel. Katie and Justine are taking a break this week, and filling in we have Leyne. He's a political columnist with the Victoria Times Colonist newspaper. Meera Bains, CBC reporter with us here in the CBC Vancouver newsroom, former legislative reporter. Hello. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Great to have both of you with us. Meera, just to catch us up here, currently we have the NDP leading or predicted elected in 46 ridings and the Conservatives in 45 ridings. The Greens are projected elected in 2 ridings. I say projected because none of those results are official yet. Mm-hmm. When might we see some clear results, and what are you watching most closely?
Sure. So as one analyst put it, because I'm stealing this line, this is basically a slow data striptease by Elections BC.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So this
to the point where the audience may have left by the time it's over.
You know what? Actually, there's a lot of interest still. Some of the numbers, some of the fellows working on the website say, you know what? There's more interest now than there was before election night.
Okay.
And people are looking up platforms and things. So I thought that was really interesting. But so this final vote count process, it's going to take place from Saturday to Monday. Okay. So one of the things we found out recently was that the mail-in ballots are actually 65,000, not 49,000, right? And today we're going to get a breakdown by district, how many mail-in ballots are in each district.
Okay, not the results of those ballots, though, just the number of ballots in each district.
Yes, but that means that we can speculate even more about whether those ballots are going to make a difference in that riding, right? So basically, really quickly, we should really be watching out for Saturday. The mail-in ballots are going to start getting counted. But on Sunday is when we're going to get the results for Surrey City Centre, and there's going to be a partial recount for Kelowna Centre. There's something went wrong with a human and a tabulator. There was a 1 vote difference, so they have to do a partial recount there.
Okay.
But Surrey City Centre is separated with the NDP leading by just 95 votes.
Okay.
And then when we go and look at the results that are coming in on Monday, we're going to get 1 to Fuka Malahat.
Right.
And the vote difference there is 20 votes.
Even closer, yeah.
Yeah, with the NDP leading.
Okay.
So it'll be Sunday will be interesting and Monday will be interesting.
All right. And Les, when we do get final results, what are the different scenarios that could play out?
Well, I think it boils down to what one seat. The NDP just desperately needs 1 more seat. Even then, things will be pretty shaky and uncertain. But 1 seat gives you a majority in the House, and you can work. I would imagine you have to subtract 1 for the Speaker, who kind of sits above the fray. But
right.
I could see them picking a Green MLA, even though they're both rookies, to be a Speaker, or a New Democrat. But they would basically have some kind of tentative or arithmetic grip on the legislature, and they could carry on. I think the main thing they're desperately trying to avoid right now is another election, which I don't imagine too many people want, given that everyone's involved in this is exhausted. So the count through to Monday, I think Monday will have some definitive picture on whether this thing stands. 1 seat, 46. They desperately need 1 more seat somehow. Not sure how they can get it. I think over time, the history of recounts in BC, I don't know it very clearly, but they don't change all that often.
Right.
All the recounts in all of time, most of them stay the way they are now. So I think that what's going to happen is an endless round of phone calls and backroom dickering on where do we go from here between the 3 parties.
Right. And it does sound, when we heard from Sonia first and now, it sounds very much like she has no interest in supporting the Conservative Party because of their policies. At the same time, the Green Party is not putting their support behind the NDP right now either.
It's almost inconceivable to imagine a situation where the Greens and the Conservatives could work together on, in the wildest stretch of imagination, that they'd come to. They might agree that we can't have another election immediately, and they'd have some kind of temporary working arrangement to cooperate a little bit. But it'd be like they both have to ditch every single thing they've said in their platforms going back for a year or more.
Right.
And also they'd have to park a certain amount of personal animosity. They just don't like each other very much.
And Meera, from the results we've seen, we know that the NDP didn't do as well as it hoped it would do in ridings with large immigrant populations. I mean, we saw them, they lost seats in Surrey, they lost seats in Richmond. I mean, what did we learn from that?
We have to understand that these communities are not monolithic. Right?
Of course.
There are a lot of issues that are very important, like cost of living and healthcare. But I think one of the key things that I think went wrong for the NDP is that they didn't connect with the communities. Although they had MLAs that could speak Punjabi, or they had Henry Yao in Richmond who could speak Mandarin, they didn't seem to have the pulse of the community and what issues were important. Meanwhile, you have the Conservatives who who've spent a heck of a lot of money on digital and social media and doing it in language, and like in terms of getting influencers on board.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that was key. You're not meeting people where they're at and what issues were important. For example, there was the issue of Soji.
Yeah.
Soji, a lot has been said, but has the NDP done a lot to really explain that in language to folks in the Punjabi community
Right.
or in the Chinese community? So I think that was a key thing. I remember back when the BC Liberals were in power, there was a lot of work that they did in terms of engagement behind the scenes,
Yeah.
in terms of monitoring ethnic media and what was going on. And so the NDP didn't really seem to connect with immigrant communities the way that has been done in the past.
At the same time, though, did we see, we often see during election campaigns, misinformation being distributed in other languages, pamphlets going to doors saying that, Soji is going to do something horrifying to your children.
And that's the thing. 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I had a TikTok sent to me by a cousin in Abbotsford, and it was in Punjabi, and it was complete misinformation. But for 2 years,
Yeah.
I didn't really see much on social media in terms of, somebody explaining Soji in Punjabi, and
Right.
let's say like from the government, I'm just wondering about things like that and engagement initiatives, because engagement is very key. Like in Surrey, they were in real trouble. They had people like on election night
Yeah.
at Conservative Party headquarters. I saw people that had helped Doug McCallum in his mayoral election way back when, and also people who had helped Brenda Locke. So you had all these people working behind the scenes for the Conservatives, and the NDP just should have been sharper.
We all remember 2017, of course. What have we learned as a result of that about the situation we're in right now?
The one thing I learned is patience. That election was early May 9th, I think. And John Horgan was sworn in as premier in late July. So it took 3 months. And it was a two-stage process, even after all this endless back and forth on the counting. After that was done, that was chapter 1. Chapter 2 was weeks of negotiations between the Greens were sitting there and the Liberals and NDP were shuttling in, making offers and counter offers, all that dickering about who was going to work together to the best advantage. I guess it was 3 chapters. Third chapter is when they went to the legislature and the government collapsed. That's a whole sort of separate round that I guess is on the table now. It may or may not play out. And it could take quite a while to figure out how this works. But the one common thing between 2017 and now is that the Green caucus, 2 MLAs now, 3 back then, is absolutely crucial one way or the other to how this works out.
Well, and it seems that that's exactly what Sonia Furstenau wanted going into this. And although she is no longer elected, she does remain party leader for the time being. And the Greens do hold the balance of power for the time being. Meera, what is the mood like with the parties at this point? I mean, when we spoke with John Rustad earlier in the week, he wants an election right now.
Well,
Or he says he does.
Well, I've heard John Rustad actually went up to Nechako Lakes, and then he's back in the Lower Mainland. And so I think he has to get his caucus together at this point, right? So I hear they are meeting, and some of them are in the Lower Mainland. They might be staying at a downtown Vancouver hotel, which I may have seen somebody yesterday. So I understand they are meeting, and that's one of the things that's key for him. We haven't been hearing much in the past couple of days from the Conservatives, and one thing we should remember that anytime you have such a divisive election, you also have to look at the party itself. Are they really coalescing as a caucus?
Yeah.
There are a lot of different opinions and on some issues that came out of that caucus, and so they're going to have to come together. And I do wonder about his leadership and whether there are people within his party that are questioning his leadership, since there wasn't, a really definitive win for them. But we saw David Eby this week as well. He was very humbled in the post-election news conference, and he really seems to be getting on with, governing at this point. And then Sonia, of course, very queen-like. So it'll be interesting. She didn't take John Rustad's call, but she did take David Eby's call. So that's a big indication of where they might be going.
And Les, for you, seeing what David Eby had to say, does he appear to you to be legitimately, I don't know, humbled, chastened?
Yeah, this is a terrible result for the NDP. It's verging on it. I mean, it was almost a knockout punch by a whisker. They just got flattened. All their plans went out the window. He's got a lot of regrouping to do. And Conservatives are one sport short, but the election night, the losers sounded an awful lot like a winner, and the winner technically looked like a loser.
Yeah, I know. I had exactly the same feeling. We're going to leave it there. It's so great to see both of you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank
Take
you.
care, Stephen.
Les, great to talk. Les Leyne, political columnist with the Victoria Times columnist, and Meera Bains, CBC reporter here in our CBC Vancouver newsroom. She's worked as a Ledge reporter as well.